White Stripes were an American rock duo formed in 1997 in Detroit, Michigan. The band consists of Jack White on guitar and vocals, among other instruments later on in their career, and Meg White on drums, percussion, and occasional vocals. Our story starts with a senior at Cass Technical High School named John Anthony Gillis. Jack, as he was called, was a musician and a poet and would occasionally attend open mic nights at the Memphis Smoke to read his poetry. It was here that he met an employee of the restaurant named Megan White, and the two soon became friends. After a few years of dating, they were married in the fall of 1996 when they were both 21. Jack took Meg's last name, becoming Jack White. On Bastille Day in 1997, Meg decided to try out Jack's drum kit. See, Jack was a drummer first.
And that's why I'm the one playing the drums, because I'm the one sitting down back here, okay?
His first real musical gig had been playing drums in the Detroit band Goober and the Peas.
I'm hitting the boom booms, make the Skrilla.
He had been playing guitar now for many years though, and when Meg picked up the sticks and started drumming, that was the role Jack took. The band decided on the name The White Stripes due to Meg's love of peppermint and the fact that their last name was White. Only a few months later, on August 14, 1997, the band played their first show at Detroit's Gold Dollar Bar. Though Jack continued playing in other bands for a while following their formation, the White Stripes were now in existence and they had just joined the local music scene. Early in the next year, a local label owner, Dave Buick, offered to fund the recording and release of the band's first single. In February 1998, Let's Shake Hands was released on Italy Records, with a run of 1,000 copies being pressed to vinyl. And in October, the band released their second single, Lafayette Blues, in the same fashion. Something you can tell right away from these first few releases is the band's dedication to a well-defined aesthetic. To go with the original peppermint theme, the White Stripes maintained a simple color palette, using only red, white, and black for all of their branding and everything they wore or played during live performances. A notable example of this commitment to their own brand so early on was the refusal to release music with the small label Bobsled Records. They wanted their logo on the disc, and it didn't fit the White Stripes color scheme. Plus, it's a pretty terrible logo. In 1999, the band were signed to the indie label Sympathy for the Record Industry. Hey, look at that logo, red, white, and black. In March, the label put out the single, The Big Three Killed My Baby. And on June 15, 1999, the White Stripes' self-titled debut album was released. A raw and bluesy record sprinkled with covers ranging from Robert Johnson to Bob Dylan, it was filled with intense attitude and the determination of a young band, propelled forward by Meg's simple drumming and Jack's frantic lead playing. A bold statement backed up by the bright red cover, a cover that would eventually catch the eye of BBC DJ John Peel at a record shop and lead to him playing the band's music on the radio in the UK. The album was received positively, but not many people outside of Detroit knew of the band at this point. Without wasting any time, they returned to the studio, or should I say Jack's living room, which is where the band's second album, Distill, was recorded.
The second album we made with the White Stripes, we recorded in my living room. So at one point during the album, we were doing a cover of Son House's Death Letter, and we're playing for about a minute, and Meg stops and has this fear of God look in her face. Like this, she's completely frozen, and I'm still playing, and I don't understand what's going on. And I said, what? I stopped and said, what? And she didn't say anything. I didn't know what was going on. I turned around, and there was a 300-pound drunk man standing behind me in my living room who had just been walking down the street and walked in to the house.
On June 20th of 2000, Distill was released. This album solidified the blues-tinged garage rock sound of the first, and just like it, contained a few old blues covers.
I got a letter this morning, how do you reckon it read? Say, hurry, 'cause I tell you love is dead. Oh, well, I packed up my suitcase.
Distill was another underground success, and the tour for the album saw the band playing farther away from home, with international dates in Canada and Japan, as well as distant domestic shows from Louisiana to Texas and California. Slowly, the White Stripes fan base was growing beyond Detroit. In February of 2001, during a break from touring, the White Stripes headed down to a studio in Memphis, Tennessee. Here they recorded their third album, White Blood Cells, in under 4 days. They didn't know it yet, but this album would catapult them into stardom. In May of 2001, they released the first and only single off of their second record, Hello Operator, a track that feels like the perfect transition from Distilled to White Blood Cells, which was released 2 months later on July 3rd, 2001. 4 days after that, on June 7th, the White Stripes played their new record in its entirety to a hometown crowd at the Gold Dollar, the site of their very first show. People were starting to take notice of this two-piece from Detroit, but they hadn't quite broken through the mainstream yet. After a month-and-a-half long run of shows around the US, the band crossed the Atlantic for their first string of dates in the UK.
When we went to England a couple months ago, we thought it was going to be a little tour, and we got there and it was just everything was sold out, and everyone wanted to do articles and photos and everything. NME wanted to put us on the cover of the magazine, and we said no. We heard so much about England can make you popular and they'll hate you 6 months later, so we just said no, we don't even want that attention. We just want to go and play shows.
The second show of this UK tour was at BBC's Maida Vale Studios on John Peel's radio program, which no doubt helped them get into the eye of the public.
And there's been more interest, I think, in tonight's entertainment than within Radio 1 than in anything else that we've done that I can remember, and we're obviously very pleased about that. And we hope that you're going to enjoy the rest of the programme and the contribution of tonight's live band. I'm very impressed with the red trousers there, Jack. From the studio audience now, thunderous and well-deserved applause for the White Stripes.
I don't think that this band is ever going to be that big, you know. It's only for two people to get even this attention. That's pretty amazing, a two-piece band from Detroit to get some sort of attention like that. So I don't think it's ever going to be big, like we're going to be playing arenas or anything like that. It just couldn't, you know, you can't. We don't write songs that are going to be, you know, top 40 hits or anything like that.
I think this is a perfect point to pause the story. This video has already gone on for a bit and there's a lot more to say, so this will be part 1 of a 2-part video on the White Stripes. So, will the band make it? Will they ever play arenas? Will they write a top 40 hit? Tune in next week on Meet the Band to find out.
And he talks about you in his sleep, and there's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene.